Good morning, everyone. This is Debbie Royce, New York Liberty Development Corporation's Assistant Corporate Secretary. I'd like to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting. Before we formally begin, I would ask that everyone please mute your audio unless you're speaking. We'll begin today by taking a roll call of the directors to ensure we have a quorum present on the line. Please be so kind as to say present when we call your name. Howard Zemsky.
Present.
Kathleen Mize.
Present.
Mehul Patel.
Present.
Thanks so much for joining us today. And Acting Chair Zemsky, you're ready to begin.
Okay, thanks, Debbie, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York Liberty Development Corporation for Thursday, November 18th, 2021. Before we get started, I'll note for the record that I'll be the acting chair for today's meeting. I ask that everyone please mute their phones until you're ready to speak. And if anyone wishing to speak, please state your name before you begin. I'd like to note for the record that in accordance with recently passed legislation, the meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I'll note for the record that the public was given an opportunity to comment on today's agenda items by submitting their written comments by noon yesterday, and no comments were received from the public on today's agenda items. Directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I'll ask the directors if anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to today's agenda items. If so, please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. Okay, hearing none, I'd now like to ask Mayoko Okubo to present the first item on today's agenda, requesting authorization for the corporation to appoint underwriters and financial advisors and to perform certain actions in connection with the One World Trade Center project's bond refunding. Mayoko, when you're ready, please begin.
Good morning and thank you. The New York Liberty Development Corporation, which I will refer to as the corporation, has been requested by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey to issue approximately $672,480,000 aggregate principal amount of New York Liberty Development Corporation Liberty Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 1WC 2021, secured by Port Authority Consolidated Bonds. The proceeds of the bonds will be used to refund in whole the outstanding New York Liberty Development Corporation Liberty Revenue Bonds, Series 1WTC 2011, issued on December 8, 2011. The Series 1WC 2011 bonds were secured by the Port Authority Consolidated Bonds that financed a portion of the construction and development of the building known as One World Trade Center. Today, we ask that the directors authorize the following actions that I will discuss in further detail in relation to this bond issuance. Selection of the co-senior managing underwriters and additional underwriters. The appointment of financial advisors if utilized. Holding of a public TEFRA hearing. Conditional notice of redemption, and the preparation of documents in connection with the bonds. Selection of underwriters. Siebert Williams Shank & Co. LLC and Goldman Sachs & Co. LLC have been selected as the co-senior managing underwriters for the bonds. Siebert and Goldman are on the corporation's pre-qualified list of underwriters that was created after an RFP process by the Empire State Development, or ESD, and adopted by ESD on February 20th, 2020. Port Authority selected Siebert and Goldman for their extensive experience in all aspects of municipal finance, especially as an underwriter of other corporation and ESD bond issuances, and their responses and ratings in the pre-qualification process. Corporation, in consultation with the Port Authority, we have the option to select other underwriters from the corporation's pre-qualified list of underwriters. Selection of financial advisor. The corporation also may select a financial advisor from its pre-qualified list of financial advisors that was created after an RFP process by ESD and adopted by ESD on February 20th, 2020. Financial advisor may be selected based on its extensive experience in all aspects of municipal finance, particularly real estate financing. Hourly rate proposal subject to a cap of $250,000. Extensive experience as a financial advisor on other bond issuances, and responses and ratings in the pre-qualification process. Selected firm will be paid by the Port Authority pursuant to a pre-financing agreement. Federal tax law requirements. Federal tax law, especially the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, commonly referred to as TEFRA, requires a hearing prior to the issuance of qualified private activity bonds in certain circumstances. The corporation has been requested to act as an issuer of qualified private activity bonds for the project. Consequently, a TEFRA hearing may be required. The applicable notice period for the TEFRA hearing is 7 days. TEFRA also requires that, following the hearing, the applicable elected representative of the issuer of qualified private activity bonds, in this case the governor, approves the transaction. Conditional notice of redemption. It is intended that the bonds will be utilized to refinance in whole the Series 1 WTC 2011 bonds at substantially the same time that the bonds are issued. A redemption notice for the Series 1 WTC 2011 bonds is required to be sent at least 20 days prior to the redemption date. Due to the proposed schedule, notice of such redemption will be given to the holders of the Series 1 WTC 2011 bonds prior to the pricing of the bonds. Such notice will state that the redemption is conditioned on the issuance of the bonds and the availability of the funds to pay the redemption price. Documents. It is intended that the bonds will be issued to refund in whole the outstanding Series 1 WTC 2011 bonds. Therefore, the related documents must be drafted and approved for the issuance of the bonds expeditiously. A national LDC board meeting will be held so that the board of directors can approve the formal final bond documents. In conclusion, staff asks that the directors authorize the selection of Siebert and Goldman as the co-senior managing underwriters of the bonds and the ability to appoint additional underwriters. The appointment of financial advisors, if utilized, that the corporation take actions related to a holding of TEFRA hearing. Corporation staff to cause a trustee for the Series 1 WTC 2011 bonds to deliver the conditional notice of redemption to the holders of such bonds, and the preparation of documents in connection with the bonds. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Okay, thanks, Mayoko. Are there any questions or comments from the directors regarding this One World Trade Center project item, appointment of underwriters, of additional underwriters, appointment of financial advisors, et cetera, as thoroughly explained by Mayoko? Okay, we have no comments from the public. Is there a motion to approve this item?
This is Mehul, so moved.
Is there a second?
Kathleen, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, well, you got a brief rest there, Mayoko, but you're up again, and we'll present the next 3 items on the agenda, which relate to the procurement of legal services in connection with the One World Trade Center project bond refunding. And we'll wait till Mayoko gets through the 3 items and then see if we have any questions or comments and vote on all of them kind of simultaneously. Okay, Mayoko? It's all yours.
Thank you. We ask the directors to authorize the corporation to enter into legal services contracts for bonds and Disclosure Council in connection with the issuance of the bonds for the One World Trade Center project that I previously described. Bond counsel is needed to ensure the corporation's compliance with the federal tax law requirements for an opinion from bond counsel on tax-exempt bonds and to ensure compliance with applicable securities laws and market practices. It is recommended that Mintz Levin, Cohn, Ferris, Golsky, and Popeo PC, Barger Gray LLP, and MWBE law firm serve as co-bond counsel on this transaction. Both law firms were selected from corporation's pre-qualified counsel list. Disclosure counsel is also needed to ensure the corporation's compliance with disclosure requirements for issuers of tax-exempt bonds under federal securities laws and market practices. It is recommended that Harwick Law Firm LLC serve as disclosure counsel on this transaction. Harwick, a certified MWBE firm, was selected from corporation's pre-qualified counsel list as having bond financing expertise and experience working on a variety of transactions. The appointment of these law firms will represent an equitable distribution of work among the corporation's rotating slate of senior and junior tier bond law firms and MWBE law firms to handle the corporation's debt in terms of size, number of transactions, fees received, and length of time since their last engagement with the corporation. Contract amount and funding source. The contract will be funded in their entirety by the Port Authority on or about the bond closing, as agreed upon by the corporation and the Port Authority in a pre-financing agreement. Counsels will work at a small discount from their typical hourly billing rate. Counsels will agree that the corporation will not be obligated to pay any amounts for services described, except to the extent, if any, that the corporation receives funds from the Port Authority for that purpose. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Okay, thanks, Miyoko. Are there any questions or comments from the directors regarding these items? We do not have any comments from the public with regard to these items. I'll entertain a motion for approval of all three items.
Kathleen, I'll make a motion to move the 3 items.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Mehul. Yep, this is Mehul. I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mehul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. There's no further business. May I have a motion to adjourn?
This is Mehul. So moved.
Mehul, good to hear your voice. And thank you for
Likewise.
that. And thank you all for your participation. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Howard. Thanks, Kathleen.